A little bit of a 80s throwback flavor. How do you guys feel about that one? In the spirit of Halloween and the Twilight Zone and crossing our chasm of spookiness, I guess.
You're not even born, right? In the 80s.
Of course. You don't have to be there to appreciate the culture.
Throwback.
To
Throwback
appreciate
to
Michael Jackson.
an old times.
Yeah. One of the all-time greats. Okay, let's get our show started. Let me spotlight some of our instructor. Oh. And
Sorry.
yeah, we were just saying that throwing back to a time where I wasn't born yet, but but also like yeah, I don't know, it's interesting that we crossed week 6 halfway of the boot camp right at Halloween, and that kind of Twilight Zone, that kind of spookiness, freakiness. And I think some of us also have been having a lot of just strange things happening, dreams, visions, live events that seemingly out of nowhere it just happens like that. And yeah, those kind of flavors. Yeah, it does. And in some of our backend conversation, when the mentors are talking to one another, we are also saying I think our cohort 7 overall picking in intensity quite early. Because usually we can see that this is usually going to be week 7, week 8, but I guess we are reaching that point in week 6 right now, and from perhaps the phase 3 and phase 4 would be how do we handle such marginal fitness, and how do we essentially build a new life from this point, because now a lot of us feel naked, a lot of us feels like we are totally very vulnerable, or we are doing a lot of lifelong contending, big decision on relationships, big decision relating to career, how you want to spend your times, and all those things. Yeah.
I was thinking that we could have a 10-week boot camp and have 2 weeks leave. Since everyone is peaking early.
I mean, but in honest, that's also kind of like the plan, right? We would pick around this time, and really in week 11, week 12, it's just about tapering and stability. I know some of us also join the public practice week, and in that short demonstration, we are also sharing in day 5, like, okay, no more striving. It's okay. Now let's just live our life from this new equilibrium, from whatever we have gathered to new stability. Can we live like this? But usually in the previous cohort at week 11, week 12, people can't stop. Like, oh, no. I want some more. No. Like, bro, don't worry. There'll be more. But for now, can we close the bootcamp cycle? But I guess that's coming from perhaps people don't feel like when we are saying all these things are peaking, they don't feel that intense. So like, am I missing out on something? Should I double down? Should I like train much harder? But yeah, this peaking can come in many flavors, right? But essentially, I think it's regarding to this sense of being in a twilight zone, being in kind of like a bottle where you're really sliding and gliding between the known and unknown. You really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you know the direction, perhaps. You have the conviction in the direction, but you don't know how it's going to unfold. How about you, Frank? I think this cohort has been much smoother for you, but is there a sense of peaking?
Peaking all the time, every week peaking, life, practice, everything. Well, I was just waiting for me to I think maybe I don't know, what's the word crash. But
Mm.
so far, it seems like there's no sign of slowing down.
Yeah. I guess that's also one of the things we can consider, right? Which is if we are increasingly become more skillful in facilitating this bootcamp, is it
Mm.
possible for us to pick in a really intense way without risking a crash, risking a burnout,
Yeah.
risking going too insane to the point that you just feel like I need to stop this, I want to end everything, reaching to that kind of fatalism, like we're saying that the mind can does that when it's get overwhelmed, it just don't know how to think anymore. It just shut down, shut this down, shut it out.
Yeah. You kind of know like the trajectory from your past practices, previous boot camps. Like I think around week 8 or 9 for me was when things will start to get difficult. But progressively, each boot camp it gets a little bit better because you kind of train your mind to
Yeah.
taper or peak in that way in terms of like going off of your previous experiences and really just like recalibrating, tweaking, and things like that. Yeah, last boot camp for me was around like maybe week 7 or 8, week 8 when I was in Arizona. There was like a week when I was like a little bit tired, fatigue, but nothing compared to the previous boot camp where around the same time that the was not nearly as smooth as the previous two. Yeah. Well, the
Mm.
last one this week it's going at 7, 8 week 7 every week 8, so we'll see. Yeah.
Perhaps it's also better because now, especially for people who train multiple bootcamp or have had experience that you know what it feels like to go into that marginal edge, then you can manage and pace yourself better.
Yeah.
That's why it's not really like I know sometimes we share something like if somebody is getting too ahead, we'll pull them back. It's not really like that. It's more like we know the pace. If you're going in that way, it may not be sustainable. So we're suggesting that you may want to pace yourself so that by the time the intensity would not slow down. Because right now we're kind of reaching the peak, right? And then we maintain this. But if we don't have enough fuel or gas in the tank, endurance and energy in that way, it may become too much later on. So we want to
Well,
pace it.
no, I might have an advantage because I spent 5 weeks to make sure, bro.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
overall, you also have advantage of your energy bank is much more significant than most people.
Yeah, that also means when I crash, it's also pretty bad. But then I bounce back really fast too. So, yeah. Hey, geez, I was thinking about you today. You know the Chinese term 无奈.
Uh-huh.
无奈. How do you
Yeah,
translate that
yeah.
into English? 无奈.
无奈. I think it's something between jadedness and helplessness. You think?
Maybe, yeah. I was thinking, you know, sometimes they have like a Taiwanese Chinese meme with like a cartoon face, like 无奈. Ooh. It's like I
I
think
had
about
the
you.
无奈
Sometimes you
face.
just, yeah, you have the 无奈
Jaded
face,
and helpless. Jaded
especially
and
when I
helpless
talk. You're like
in between.
无奈. Every time I talk, you're like 无奈.
It's like, yeah. Like I can
Okay,
out
I'm
of
just
my
gonna ignore
control.
you.
That makes it so
I'm so
yeah,
excited to show you my
yeah.
Halloween props. You're like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore you 无奈. And it was like, so funny. I was just thinking about that when I was making coffee this morning. It's hilarious. Sorry. Is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
attendance
That's
up this week? That was mandatory. For this meeting is mandatory. Saturday reviews, I think, is probably the most important day. I don't know why people think it's not mandatory.
Yeah, as well as you come in and we close the causal loop of the week for
Yeah,
the entire cohort, right? It's very important.
yeah, I think it's important. And you get to see Mei Chen and you can interact with him live, kind of a little bit.
Yeah. But okay, I think at week 6, how about we take some quick review of the entire process, us reaching to this point. And I'll get our show started. So this week, really, I think we're spending our time in the Twilight Zone. We don't really know what's going on in the Twilight Zone, but it's kind of like in the bottle, you are shifting from one state to the other, and things are confusing, things are spooky, scary, very, very intimidating, overwhelming, or exciting. It depends on how you feel about transformation, right? Depends on the attitude, I guess. But in this regard, I think it's also that it has been 6 continuous weeks of ontological investigation. On and on and on. We are asked from day one, week one, to come as you are, just be aware and recognize what's going on. But of course, that instruction gains nuances and dimensions, depth, as we progress through each week and each element. And really, the aggregates and the elements are the tools, the teaching remedies, so that we can use to further our increase, further our investigation in a very precise manner. So if we remember, we started really with this available moment, which is regardless of what level of practice we have accumulated before joining the bootcamp, everybody has the ability to tune into the present moment. But it's really like more, because now with more training, we know like, oh, present moment can be much more. So I was considering again that really at the start is the available moment. Is that right now what is available for you to feel? And it's right now is mean own the moment. Like right now, and also in the sit right now, and also in a heated argument with a significant other right now, and also in an uncertain future moment right now. There's always that availability. And no matter how skilled you are, you can always know that there's such a thing called contact, meaning you are making contact with what's going on. There could be a sense of interaction between the internal world and the external world. There's that contact. And from that contact come all the sensations or the feelings. Right? You have all this rich sea of feelings that are present. And those feelings, you can say that it depends on sense gates. So the feeling here, the contact could be eye contact. It could be hearing contact. It could be sensorial body touching contact. It could be smell. It could be taste. What's interesting about the sense gate, previously when we train, what I noticed is that when we talk about sense gate, most likely we can only sense one sense gate at a time. The training later on, let's skip ahead a little bit to contrast. The training later on, especially in week 6 territories, some of us have the ability or have the experience now of what it feels like to just be 6 sense gate simultaneously. Like just total open. Like the being is freed up. So, but we train in the beginning to increase our association with each of these sense gate, with each of these contact, with each of these range of feeling. So that's why when we started first, it does feel like we are living in constant fragmentation because there's just patches of feelings over here, a little bit of contact over there. These contact I like to make. When this contact, when these kind of contact happens, I disassociate. So it just fragmentation. So one of the first thing A, B, or C cohort are asked to do is, can we absorb, sit down, and have these fragmentation to be gathered? And now that comes into the really the week 1, week 2 training, gathering the fragmentation so that it can snap. Maybe just for a moment, maybe just for 5 seconds, but comes that possibility of like, oh, there is a way to respond, hold these phenomenon, hold these sensation, hold all these push and pulls, that it can lock in to stability. I don't need to fight it. I don't need to try to get rid of it, but it just in that way. And maybe that, and this thing would keep spinning, that we will be bounced out, and then we'll make another maneuvers, find another routing, another cycle, another cycle, another cycle, on and on and on and on. And all the fragmentation as we train and we move through our own ontological obstacle course challenge, as the week 1 analogy, we get more skill, we get more familiarity with our own personal hindrances, be it whatever flavors of that. Yeah. Oh, the gray box on the right side is me looking at your guys' faces. So I'll squeeze it. That's the gray box. It's easier to speak when I see some face. So then these gathering, the fragmentation is not only sensorial, right? It's also now, oh, if I gather in that direction, that means I'm going through all these cycles and cycles of absorption. There's the contact that's happening, attend to exactly what's going on. There's the reassociation now of leaning into, right? We are going in that direction. And it could be interesting because we're just sitting still, but then just by leaning in or having the attitude of responding to it, being responsive, now our field of experience starting to open up. Previously, what we call mundane, nothing's happening, blah, 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 blah. It's actually our way of suppressing or disassociating from it, resisting what's going on. But then we see as we reassociate, our field of experience is amplified. The wax and wane of experience is starting to be enriched. And in that process of amplification, there's more intensity and the so-called depth of experience is starting to increase. There's also a need to release, unclench, to self-regulate because it could get too intense and then you just get bounced out. But like, how do we get intense, but also soften up in that way so that we can stay there, so we can sustain that attention. Like by releasing, we got continuously knowing how to sustain. And once the sustenance of that reach a critical ability, we can pacify that original problem and starting to purify the situation. Because let's say that anger that we are having a challenge being with, now we stay with it long enough to just like, oh, it's no longer a problem. Either that we just familiarize ourselves with that cluster of sensations, or the cognitive obscuration of like, why am I so angry, got released, or whatever. Emotional obscuration got purified, or cognitive obscuration got illuminated, but eventually it pacified that. And if we can do this one time, we can see and verify for ourselves that, oh, this cycle of absorption can help me move more confidently into my own laboratory of emotions. And all the push and pulls of emotion, like we're saying from week 2, now become like, yeah, your own dojo, your own ground of training. Maybe previously you would not be able to deal with a very high dose of fear. Like when you get terrified, you froze up. A lot of us have that pattern, right? We froze up. We don't know what to think, how to be. But now, because of these cycles of absorption, we train up, just a little bit, reassociate just a little bit, amplify that just a little bit, and then release, so that we can pacify. Oh, I see through this. And this is now starting to be in week 2 and week 3 territory of training. Right? Having more range of emotions, not just sensation of like, oh, I can feel more, but also tend to the narratives, the push and pull, the clinging of that. Because otherwise, sometimes we can sneakily do not want to feel our emotion, but just want to repersonalize it, or the kind of like, I just want to see the sensation of it, but I don't want the other aspect. Because now there is now also the dimension of the aggregate of form, which is like seeing how it comes to from feeling it has shapes, it has a narrative. Now we can also go and gathering even a narrative, even like the entire range of that 5 minutes of feeling angry. It's just not sensation.
I have a question. How when you talk about the cycle, like I definitely experienced a lot of that and noticed in the cycles. Like, but for the acolytes, or even for myself, like at the more subtle level, how do you know when a cycle ends and when the next one begin? And is that something you have to kind of keep a mental note of when you practice, or I know it happens like automatically when you just gather, but like, yeah, how do you know when the cycle ends?
Yeah,
And
so for
what
your
exactly
example,
does it mean by the next cycle? Is it just
yeah.
means next cycle of gathering or next cycle of recognition? Like,
Yeah. I think what we can also see from this doesn't show it very well, but this like cycle,
yeah,
it can also be a
yeah,
spiral up in terms of
yeah,
intensity or the magnitude of what is being gathered, right? At first, it could be just like leaning into like how I'm feeling right now sitting on this couch. And like, okay, amplify that a little bit, release, whatever the sense of, we can self-regulate. We can make it a little bit more comfortable or more relaxing, more at ease to do that. But like a later set of absorption as we do that, and at the peak of the training, that cycle of absorption could be gliding in between the identities and just cut that. It could be very much more depth of it. And each of these cycle can spiral into its uh, spiral and gain in its depth and mm, I would say unity of mind in some ways. Like there's just
Unity
no
of mind.
leakage. Yeah.
Okay, no leakage. Okay. So
But
when the
but
next cycle comes around, does that mean that you just go into deeper layers of the what hasn't been recognized or something like that? Because from my understanding now, it's almost like when the cycle come to its completion, it's almost like purification, absorption, and refinement kind of come together. It's like you purify, you absorb to a degree which you can purify this particular cycle, and then boom, there's a recognition,
mm,
and then the next cycle, right? Something like that.
yeah. 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 I guess in the context of when we first started our training with 1 and 2, earth and water element training is the tool at that time, I would say is really just to be mindful of your situation, what's going on. Maybe it's now that we are coming to week 6 and we also have been starting our view refinement training with presence and being. But at the beginning, we are just really making friend with our sensation and our emotions again, right? At the first 2 weeks, it's very simple. It doesn't even need to have that piece of um, view refinement of seeing, the sense of being, the total of all the aggregates. I guess at the beginning here, when we just talk about feelings, it can be the sense of, oh, the cycle of absorption lead to the point that there's just a calm mind ongoingly for a long
Oh,
stretch of
like the
time.
first couple of jhanas. First couple of
Yeah,
jhanas.
just like I could be here, I can remain undisturbed. Oh, Albert, are you saying something? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Any comment, Chase?
Word
No, I think
amplify
Tom
could be a
put
little
something in the
misleading.
chat
The
saying
word
that the word
amplify could be
amplify,
a
yeah,
little
yeah,
misleading.
Frank, you can
Yeah.
read it.
Okay, the word amplify could be a little misleading if we use it to latch on and drive a particular sensation state.
Yeah, I guess that's why like the release could be very important, right? We only want to amplify. We don't want to unclench. We only want to get like the uh
More, is
yeah,
that there's more luminosity, more
more.
luminosity? Yeah.
Mm.
Khan, is that the difference between a clean burn and a bad burn? Like a not so clean burn, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I think so because the unclean burn, it just doesn't know how to take care of its own fuel, right? It just add more and more and more, and it doesn't know how to cease.
Mm. So that would be what I think, Frank, you're getting at is at the end of a cycle would be like from seeing the beginning to the end of it, like actually going through the cessation of it, right?
Yeah.
The release
Sensation of a
factor of it.
particular. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think like it could be a very mini small cycle of like, oh, at the start of this sit, uh there a lot of us there would be a warm up of 20, 25 minutes at the start of the sit. My body's very uncomfortable. Can I be with that discomfort? And just do the warm up, oh, body's comfortable now. But
That's a
just do
cycle.
that. Yeah,
Oh,
that's one cycle.
yeah, that's cool. And there's multiple cycles going on all the time too. Yeah.
Mm.
Cycles in the cycle.
Maybe that's like the importance of is in a real sense, insight comes when you are able to gather the insight cycles and like not ignore what's going on, knowing precisely A, B, C, D, E, like being able to be precise through the whole set of what's going on, all the
Yeah.
cycles, right?
Yeah.
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 And then we can see how challenging it is that we have a very hot warm-up set. For example, whatever is going on in our life, strong disturbance, it doesn't want to calm down. It doesn't want to sit down. It wants anything but to associate. But if we can do successful of that, now, okay, so now it's calm, but the next cycle could be, can you see beyond just this stillness? Or do you see that you just want to cling to it? You don't want to release the stillness. You want to have a cocoon of safety, and then you want to ignore everything else. Right. So that will be a next cycle of picking in that way. And once that peaking and you see all maybe very mystical experience, maybe sense of divinity, and immediately when there is cool down coming in and you know that you're about to have a talk with all these people, you see that there can we even recognize that now there is a sense of like, I want to validate, I want validation, I want to share, and I want people to recognize I just got an amazing set, blah, blah, blah. And that's not particularly wrong or something like that. We just recognize. And then we can self-regulate like, oh, I'm having a fawning experience. I'm fawning right now. This is fawning. And the reason why it may be an unskillful way of responding to it is that it was not a clean release. It's not a clean release of like the experience. We have a plenty of them. It's one of the good ones. Tomorrow could be a bad one. And the day after that could be a really good one again. So with that information in mind, how would you share? I shout out to some of the posts. I think I remember Leon in particular mentioning something about like, I think I don't even need to write about my sit anymore. It's just like good sit, bad sit. So then what do we write about in our training log? If we have the trust that it is an ongoing cultivation, it's an ongoing accumulation over time, we don't fawn over the specialness of certain states or experiences, then what do we write about? What do we contemplate on? Because at this point in the training, right, it could be that we are familiarized that, oh, it could get really blissful, it can get really still, it could get really high turbulence, and I can still stay with it, flow with it. Interesting. All this range of experience. Am I just going to write about the same experience over and over and over again? Probably no, right? Now, what do we write about?
Well, you look at Adrian. Adrian lost Bootcamp. All he writes is about his like amazing sits. In this Bootcamp, he started writing about like his relationship with his wife, how that plays out in life and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
It doesn't mean he still writes the sits, but like you just gets carried on in life, and you start to write about like life itself, whatever.
Yeah. So that's also I think what I mean by the sensorial aspect of it. Could also be a subtle way. I think we mentioned this with Ziad, is that sense of going to that stillness could be a way of suppressing everything else. Very skilled at going to that space of like going out of my body, the room is disappearing, and now I'm very peaceful. But oh, I think I'm stuck in this piece. Or maybe not stuck in this piece, but this piece doesn't get the job done fundamentally. Because otherwise I'll be here before the sit. I need to boost up to get here. And then I'm in this cycle of just constantly I have to boost up, boost up, boost up, more piece, more piece. And then that's the limitation of treating the entire Dharma, the Buddha Dharma, the teaching that leads to liberation, just stress reduction, right? You got some stress, you reduce it. You got some stress, you reduce it. But that's very limited. Okay, it stay here. Let's see. So release is unclench, self-regulate for stability while sustaining intent. Classification here is noticing the routing that effectively clears the obstacle. Yeah, and I think in discussion one yesterday, Frank and I were just talking about how the sense of permanency when some gains or some realization has been made. From the how I would describe it is I think we have successfully pacified it so that we know the routing that just effectively clears the obstacles. It just doesn't become a problem again. So previously, maybe we were stuck in the sense of centralized perceiver, but now we just know that, oh, I don't need to do that. And my routing, the routing is an ongoing continuous recognition.
Yeah. So just highlighting that it's clearing the obstacles, not clearing the negative emotions or whatever is arising. There's a difference.
So then now we have the ability to sit more with the push and pulls of our, let me see if I can, okay. push and pulls of emotions, and every possible emotion overlap. Now we are gaining our familiarity with it. And then perhaps, interestingly, is from those emotions, now we have formation. It's all the possible meanings that just wow, make a context. And we're like, oh, we're starting to see in our training all the talk of Mei Chang talking about how there's like, do you notice how the sense of the physical wall, physical world, Zoom meeting, all these things are informing is the formation is the fabrication of meaning that's just immediately present. Like, oh, I'm in a Zoom meeting. This is week 6. We are crossing phase 2, it's the Twilight zone, crossing the chasm, all these things. Information of meaning and all these possible ways of I can be with it. Now, what may not be so clear when we was training through week 3, seeing the meaning making structure, meaning out of thin air, like we were saying at that time, is how from this formation, it relates to perception. Because previously, it could be very quickly that we identify with a position within the story, within the narrative. But just in this formation, there could be many possible positioning point of view we can take. But usually, we'll just cling to one thing, right? So formation is this opening up of opening up and constant ongoing production of what is this moment about? What is going on? Now, we may not see because usually we'll just jump straight to that sense of like, okay, there is a sense of being that I cling to, that I am, not even cling to, that I am. Like, I am this sense of this internal sensorial knot inside of my head, inside my heart, inside as my body, the point behind my eyes, right? Immediately snap into this. And even if we say like, okay, that I will sit with this sense of observing, and as I scan it, I can see that it's on an ongoing production of a new self, the old self dying, give rise to the new self, and this ongoing thing is my self, is the sense of self. And in this formation, in all the range of meanings that is within this, there could be, for example, I think this is like the pop-up book of some sort of Chinese military tales. In this perspective, my sense of self could be the brave, courageous general. I identify myself with that general. My point of view, my perception, this perspective that I take, this sense of self here is this courageous warrior. But sometimes a different, same formation of the sense of strife and tribulation, the challenges, but sometimes I identify myself with the not so strong, the meek and the timid and the weak troop boy, whatever. And in those moments, I feel very disempowered. I don't feel like I can take on this challenge. Right. So within a similar formation, you say, okay, can you sit with the thing that triggers you very much and then see how your point of perception, this sense of self, can seize and you can take on a new positioning. You can so-called change your mind. You can change your mind on something. You can change the perspective, the perceiving, how you make meaning, how you make sense of that situation. Because within this formation, as a context, immediately there's a bubble of separation inside of it. And from that bubble of perception, it has agenda, it has its own comparison between it and the others within that context. And then we're asking like, can this sense of a bubble of separation be felt, be seen? Like, so then when we're starting to train perception, it's in the week 4 of element training, the 5 element training, week 4. And being with this perception, feeling it was very challenging. It's like asking directly, can you just be yourself for 90 minutes straight without deviating to anything else? Very challenging. Because that means I have to feel my anxiety, all my trauma, all the things that I don't want to face, like, let alone don't want it to cease. I don't even want to begin to work on it. I don't even want to admit that it's there, let alone like, what are you talking about? Letting it be with it all the way until it sees and arises and see how it is part of a much bigger formation. No, I don't even want to accept that I have that perception. So then in the week 4 element training, it was very, very challenging for us to just accept that there is an unclean burn that is happening for us. A constant sense of
What is this image right here? This GIF, like I'm not sure what this is pointing to.
Yeah. So I'm saying that, okay, with this formation in week 3, right, we're starting to see that from all the forms that push and pulls make up our emotional state, it generates a type of formation of the context of what this moment is about, the themes, the meanings. And I'm saying that from this formation, we identify as a bubble. Like that could be a big bubble, and there is a smaller bubble within it. That is, we say, a point of view. And not only
okay, so the small bubble is like the self view almost.
yeah, the self view, right? So it could literally be the perception of us like looking around and from the first person point of view in this way. And when we look at it in our meditation session, we can see there's an ongoing sense of self that generates. Even we can see that, okay, the red one, stop. Now it's a white one. Now the red one begins and the white one stop. And we just see it's ongoing arise and passing, arise and passing. But like we were saying, when we look at this, when we identify with the red one, when we see it's about to stop, we viscerally react like, nope, I don't want the red one to stop. Now we are objectifying it and make it more distant and abstract. But when we sit our sense of self, we really don't want that red one to stop. Even though we like look at this, we could be ridiculous, right? Now, why would you trip over about the sense of self being deconstructed? But it just, I guess if we haven't crossed enough of the chasm, it just doesn't feel like we can believe that there could be even a release in ourself, in our sense of self. We just want to cling.
Even after you release the white one, sorry, the red one, there could be a tendency to cling on to the white one too. Oh,
Yeah, so
no, see.
yeah, so
You see, that's also empty too.
Yeah, the cat and mouse game, right? Like, oh, the being of the white one is now the taking over the
becomes
red
the red
one.
one. The white one then becomes the red one.
Yeah. So then it's
That's
on
why you
and
have
on and
that
on and on it
impure,
goes.
impure.
Yeah.
You kind of you cleanse it a little bit, but then it's impure because the rest of the condition is still holding on to some kind of verification. It's still a very subtle self. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
But then
saying
it's
is
not
that
to negate. Yeah, it's not to negate either one of those balls. You just see both co-arising and empty of inherent existence.
yeah. So then all the talk in week 5 now about beings is essentially to see this process and now also take to week 5 of consciousness, which is now Vijnana, divided knowing. Can you see directly in your experience that there is a sense of separation? Like, can you be with the separation all the way until the separation collapse into union, into jnana, into undivided knowing? The moment that it collapses, we can call it union. The point of that collapse is to reveal the inseparability in the first place. But at the beginning, it can just literally feel like you looking at the sense of self, looking at the sense of self. It just on and on and on. It goes into it's this infinite loop of like, oh, 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 until we have enough stability that can lock in and then allow the pacification to happen and just totally be with it. Before that, it would just be it can feel like an endless mouse and cat and mouse chasing game, right? So how do we go in week 5 as we saying about this of like, okay, if you stay with this range of perception, the range of consciousness from divided knowing to staying with it until it ceases its separation, in that moment of cessation, of that divided knowing, we come towards the totality of our being. Just all of it, arising, arising and passing. We see like, oh, yeah, it can be possible that there is this being that is all these aggregates on at the same time.
Yeah. I think what's challenging for people is that sometimes you put a lot of attention in noticing the subject and object, or that sense of separation, and almost like I'm waiting for this to disappear, or like my maneuver is to make this disappear, to cross, to cross this chasm of being, which I think has been like, I think quite a few people have mentioned in the discussion, right? Like, they will be talking about your experience, but then it's like, oh, but the object and the subject's difference is still like very obvious, or something like that. And basically what we've been saying is that in the first place, we don't get rid of the separation. In that way, we are resting, even
Yeah.
with that sense of separation. Yeah. And yeah.
See the inseparability between separation and inseparability. In separation, non-separation. There's no separation there either.
Yeah. And that seeing that separation is actually is the fabrication in itself. Is this that, but
This is a fabrication.
the sensation of it is not something that we want to get rid of, as just as with any other things that we are sensing.
I also think this graph is good, but people can like be like, "Oh, being is in the center of all these aggregates," but it's actually not like that either. At first, you're like, "Oh, there's a self, and then there's the aggregates, the self in the center," and then you're like, "Oh, okay, being. Oh, no, being is a more subtle version of the self. Now it's being. It's a little bit more like elusive, but then there's the aggregate surrounding it, making up the being. There's a chance of verifying that too. But it's like there's actually no being there at all. It's just the aggregations, the process of aggregation, like co-arising. And then you see that, oh, because the aggregation are co-arising, all the aggregates are also empty.
Yeah, I guess the teaching of the five aggregates in the first place is a tool for you to then verify, is there a substantial, unchanging being somewhere in that? See it for yourself. And we're saying here is that, oh, there could be a thing called an emergent being, a being that is spawning in relations with, well, with presence, but with the environment. Like a smaller bubble can always be emerging out of the streams of endless phenomena. But the problem is we want to cling to one type of bubble. So then practice life becomes significantly daunting because we are afraid if that bubble bursts, that will be the enemy. Well, that will be true. That will be the end of you. But that you, we can say, is like diluted.
Was never actually. It was adventitious.
Yeah, it was adventitious. We added on. It was an extra reification. But because we haven't seen that, we can't believe that, right? So it's literally feel like, no, it doesn't feel like that. Yeah, because we so bought out, we so bought in, we so caught up in this spell of like, no, I'm really this sense of self, man. I'm really this.
Would you say the unification, or like the unification of the aggregates, that gives rise to a sense of being in that sense? Is it because all the aggregates are now like in equal footing? That's one way to describe it. Another way to describe it is the one particular aggregate could be more dominant than others, but then you're just not clinging on to, say, I'm feel a lot of feeling right now, feeling aggregate. You're not clinging on to like just to the feeling, right? It's both, right? I don't know that maybe that even asking that question is kind of rareifying the aggregates. But
I think it's there's a lot of point to contemplating about that. That's why I guess the consciousness is introduced last. That's why people cling to the sense of being conscious, being knowing. Like if I know if I'm being aware, then that must be me. right? That's why there could be a lot of sense of like we're not comfortable with not knowing. We're not comfortable with losing our sense of coherency even. Yeah. So then the training, like we were saying, even the exploration of consciousness in the later Yogacara and shout out Foundation of View, something is happening very soon for 7C, and most likely those materials to be made available for everybody in CC, is that just the exploration of consciousness. What does that even mean to be aware? What do we mean by aware? There's 8 consciousness from that, and we can examine at a much deeper level. Right now, there's 5 aggregates, but just the aggregate of consciousness, zooming into it, that we're like, oh, wow. Because otherwise, um, there will be a hiding place for some sort of a subtle sense of clinging to that sense of knowing to persist. So then, with this being, now we see that, okay, the moment is flexible. One way I'm looking at it, my being is constantly dying. The other way of looking at it, my being is constantly getting born again, born again, born again. Just keep on reborning. So then we can come to the kind of Schrodinger cat situation here of our being, is that can we see that there is this undivided knowingness that can transcend both death and birth, death and birth, death and birth, death and birth? So-called deathless in this way, so-called eternal. At this point, you can feel eternal, right? Like, oh, there's a possibility of seeing that being that transcend arising and passing. If I cling to like, oh my God, I'm dying. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get reborn again. Oh no, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna die. Now, can we see that this is actually what's going on? In life, there is an omnipresence of death. And because we are alive right now, that's something we don't want to see. We want to ignore death. We want to ignore our own cessation. We ignore our own cessation, therefore we cling to a persistent sense of self. I know I'm not dying. This sense of self is the same one that when I was 5. It's the same one. Or is it? I like this sheep a lot. Very
Yeah. Cute.
gets the point across. Yeah. And as we stay at that edge of gnosis, undivided knowing, like, oh, there's a way for consciousness, the divided knowing, to collapse into union. And from that, we see the inseparability of both sides. This is terrifying. It's a cute cat, but when it's in our experience, I know for myself, when really a lot of familiarity with this phase uh, prior to bootcamp, prior to training Mei Chang, the fawning was just off the charts. And we're just like, oh my God, what did I just see? What? But in bootcamp number 4, when we started to train together, there's a lot of experience in this kind of battle realm of sliding, gliding between identities, but also was very, very confusing, challenging, and because it's just constantly, if we cling to a sense of a ground, then it just feel like, oh, I'm losing my ground. But then can we stay with the groundlessness of the situation and knowing how to land in a relational ground all the time? At that point, I couldn't really do it because it's very, very confusing and disorienting. But getting to that, right, is really this twilight zone, really this sense of like, yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear that Twilight Zone opening theme. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, that opening theme. Yeah, but it feels like that. It feels spooky as shit at times. Is that there could be a sense when we are going deep into absorption and we have an intent to, I want to see, I want to recognize what's going on. So we're just not abiding into some sort of a nice, calm, pleasant state. But no, I want to see. I want to see what this sense of self what this being, what I really am. I want to see that. Oh, I'll come back to those slides later. But it could be just like this opening up of a door. Like I remember for me, you literally see a door. Like opening up a door, like, oh, do I want to go in there? Like, do I want to entering into that another dimension? Like, yeah, spooky season, leaving the common. If we pass through that door, whatever sense of conventional may change forever. And some of us may have gone through this door so many times by this point. It's just second nature. But even if we go through a couple of doors, it can still lead to a further growth into our fitness. And the moment when a new door, a new threshold is met, still feel daunting. That's what it feels like. It's just what the territory feels like. It's daunting. Like a new breakthrough is approaching us. Do you want to enter another dimension? Or like, no, man, I leave my stove open and my dog needs to be walked. I want to go home now.
Yeah. And that's how I felt. Like I was actually quite remember pretty distinctly. I think I was reading a book by Greg Good. I think that's his name.
Oh, the direct way?
Yeah, I was reading that, and I think that's when it just kind of clicked for me, that sense of uh undivided knowingness, and I remember distinctly my reaction was, which is why I think it's so hard for me to understand this idea of chasms, because when it clicked, I just like, oh, cool, and then just went to cook rice, like after that, like cook dinner, like just. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe a lot of us have a fear of emptiness, right? We fear emptiness. Emptiness is scary to us, terrifying. The void is not a friendly place to us. For whatever reason, we may not know, but that is the undeniable effect it has on us. When we sit down, we face these things, we have an intent, we hold that intent for about 45 minutes, go into the peak of the sit, and then we are scared. For whatever
Mm.
reason, we hesitate, we, yeah, we choose distraction. Right? No, I don't really want to see that. No thanks. For whatever reason, maybe the aspiration is not strong enough. Maybe right now it's too turbulent. Maybe there is some unfinished business that you feel like you must finish. And you see that, okay, emptiness is here and life is there. And if I go here, I won't have this life. So it could be a cognitive kind of obfuscation. Like, okay, there's this side of my family and all the people that I care for. If I go into emptiness, I think that would mean a total detachment. That means love and emptiness is separated. So of course I won't choose emptiness. Could be those kind of reasoning, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know. All that we know right now is I have a decent deal. What's going on?
Mm.
What if I go through that and a new sense of being of blah blah blah, okay, codependent, okay, immersion, blah 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 blah. But what if that version no longer cares about what I care right now?
Yeah. It's like
How?
the influx of narrative that comes with when you could see that.
Yeah.
I don't think it dawned on me that there is so many meaning or narrative that is tied to that moment of seeing. I think it was, yeah, maybe that's why we talk so much about life or living, because that I kind of let life unfold and tell me what that means, rather than I don't, I think I'm a very simple person. I don't like when I have a certain insight of seeing it, like the influx of what does this mean doesn't like swarm to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So this portal, this door, this opening, this chance to see opens up, but we may feel like it's shredding us. All the spooky stuff would come out. And we may not like being shredded. It's very so-called human to not like want to be destroyed, not wanting to cease. Because we equate death, we equate cessation with the unknown, and the unknown is scary. But I guess now coming back a little bit earlier to this slide, but I guess when some of us go through this twilight zone and report back on our experience, we're saying something like, oh, for this one moment at the bottom, the moment of this moment is connected and is made of this all the causing condition that boils down to this moment. All the causing condition, all the choices, not just you, your parents, your friends, your society around you, history, the environment, all that.
Pretty much the whole universe.
Yeah, the whole universe is into this.
That's what the ATR people call total exertion. It's like the whole universe working together to make this moment.
And
Where did you find
as
this
we,
picture? Is it some Roman stuff?
I Google the collective unconscious.
That's fun.
Yeah, but that's kind of what it is, right? This opening up, there is not another being on the other side, but it's just the presence, just the interconnectedness. Yeah. As we walk around, so-called separated into our own individualism and into our own bubble, but there's that causal streams that always connecting, working, sense of a greater presence always at play. Most people may never be aware of it. You're on mute, Frank.
You go back to the previous one again. I'm gonna take a little screenshot.
Yeah, so
Or like,
in one dimension, there's this like boiling down to this moment right now, right? Like supposedly if you opens up right now and we have the capacity to remain or to continuously sustain our omnipresence, you will see that on the causing condition here that has the people in CC, on the live trajectories that we come from, on the potential destinies that we are heading towards, what's at stake, what's the situation with the world right now, what is going on with AI, what is going on with only bioengineering, and making the frogs gay, all those things. Yeah, and there could be a sense of like, oh, when we open this up a little bit, and I guess this is the turning our mind towards what's really going on. And at times, I guess, as we tap into the unconscious of everybody around us, perhaps it fills us with an unshakable sense of conviction that I must do something about it for me and everybody around me, even if they can't understand what I'm doing. Yeah, because then it's not really a separation between practitioner and non-practitioners. The whole point of generating bodhicitta is that we don't do that. We just see people not as individual part, but as emergent interconnectedness with one another. So even if they are refusing to enter the twilight zone, refusing to see the truth for themselves, that doesn't mean that they are not a part of this greater collective, this greater collective in that way. So then I guess the question is, if each individual part can only exist in relationship with other parts, then what is the nature of the separate self? No, it's very clear that okay, then it's an illusion. But like, what nature is about that illusion? And how come we viscerally do not want to see this?
Yeah, that's the difference between like you just recognize something as an illusion, phenomenon to be an illusion, but then the next level of realization is to see how that illusion come about. How is your fabrication constructed?
Okay.
What is the nature of the illusion? Yeah.
All right, stop sharing right now. I do think we have a smaller crowd today, so how about we just directly have a share out here with regarding to everything that just
I think
transpired.
people are recovering from Halloween party or something. How was your night out, Con?
It's pretty cool. We went to a Mexico Latino club. So I don't know. I don't know any of the music in it, but I think there's a
Have you
lot
been
of
to a club yet? Just like a mainstream kind of like
yeah.
you have? Okay. I haven't been one of those in a while.
I went with Albert's friend.
Oh, cool.
Hit those moves.
You went with Mamadou?
Yep.
Boom, boom, boom.
Nice.
I'm actually a bit like hungover right now.
Oh, you went out last night? Oh,
Not last night. This
Sorry.
afternoon, I was in this like this exhibition for sake.
Oh,
So
Yes, you went
I
Sake
drank.
Masuri.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. I was there.
I was
Are you
there
there?
at 6 p.m.
Oh, I was there at like 12 to 2. It was like lunchtime, but I had like at least 20 different types of yeah. Did you,
Yeah.
did you
never
not
met
drink a
Brian?
lot?
You've never met Brian?
No.
No, I'm
Oh.
drunk right now.
Oh.
He's drunk right now.
Yeah.
It was so many. There were like at least I think there were like hundreds and hundreds of like free samples of sake and spirits.
I love it. I've been there like every year since
Oh yeah.
3 years ago.
You like it? You like sake?
No, it's free. It's free flow sake for
Free
like
flow.
two.
Yeah, you just drink as much as you want. They give you like a glass, at the entrance, and then you just go to every booth and like give me some.
So it's like a
Then
sake
you just
convention.
keep drinking.
It's like a sake convention.
Like an
Yeah.
like a gathering of sorts, like of different brands.
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
we call it convention in US. Or like fitness convention, people just come in with the protein shakes and show up their muscles.
But how are you guys feeling about this ongoing investigation that we're having? I mean, if we're talking about the aim of the bootcamp is self-emptiness realization, then the tools and the material is kind of it, right? This is pretty much it. The next two phases is now, well, if you haven't realized yet, then we are providing more opportunities to realize and work through more about obscuration. If you have realized it, then can you instantiate? Can you, like Frank was saying, there's levels to it. How clearly can you see it? And if you have seen it and you can instantiate it, then, well, yeah, especially with the foundation of view is starting, now it's also breaking into territories of beyond self-emptiness. Beyond, yeah. How is it possible that what is the relationship between presence and being then? How do they are also inseparable? How is it possible that in this field of this greater so-called unconscious collective generates your sense of self? Like, how does that process happen? How does that process happen? What is your incarnational trajectory? What is the point of you being born there at that time with that parents? Can you see that? Now it's the matter of fate and destiny. But before that, we probably have to do the liberation first. Otherwise, the fate and destiny would cook our brain into some sort of grandiose and whatnot. Yeah, it's kind of we haven't released this yet. We are under review, but it can be a very important conversation to scope it out, which is the interview between Frank and Albert. Maybe would you mind sharing a little bit now as well, Albert? It's about how after Anatta, bro, there's a whole new game after that. Like it's whole
Yeah.
new game.
When are we releasing that, Con? FYI.
Oh, we're doing some visual editing a little bit.
Oh, nice.
We're
Yeah.
making sure the shots are correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fun conversation. Like post what does it mean to arise? What does it mean to it's magical territory. I think I was talking about it like even Friday with my cohort. Like a lot of this arena between being and presence, especially also post anatta, right? We're talking about where we play with appearance. Yeah. Develop. Why there is a development. Why can't there be endless development?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess to get to that point, there must be some sort of commitment to going even beyond our personal liberation, right?
Mhm.
Like how in so many traditions, not so many traditions, how in Buddha Dharma, the Mahayana is supposed to be the cure for the two Hinayana, which is Shravakayana and Praktika Buddhayana. How it is so that literally the vehicle of the awakened being, like literally bodhisattva, awakened being. Sattva mean being, awakened mean bodhi. Awakened being enact activities would solve the limitation of the vehicle of the people who only know how to follow, only know how to mimic and copy, and the people who only can do it in a confined solitude environment. How do we solve? How do we number one, how do we be our own individual, fully individuated, that is going beyond the Shravakayana? How do we do that in a way that is interconnected? We don't need to cling to a perfect bubble that is our solitude. How do we do that? Well, that is literally the training of the awakened being. The bodhisattva begins that training.
Yeah, it's a different premise, Khan, right? Because really we're all looking for the end of suffering. Like everyone's trying to be healed, trying to fix their traumas, trying to, well, end dukkha, right? But like, what is it like when actually that is all irrelevant? Kind of inconceivable, right? Like it's like, what if you're actually just free? How do you then, what matters then? How do you relate? Well, how does awakeness move into appearance? Like, do we save all beings or is that a trip too? Like, could be that even that's just, a fantasy, a trip, a kind of still playing the game of fixing or trying to cure samsara. Like all of it is questionable. Like, why is it that even it's like these systems are memes, right? Like, if we're this perfect meme, then like, what is beyond that? You know?
So if the Mahayana is a response to, or I guess the reconciliation of particular Buddha and Shabaka, then what about Vajrayana? Is that a response to Mahayana too?
Yeah,
Like, and
that's
what is
taking
that response?
Mahayana on in like kind of insane level, like extreme level, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
then it's a
it's
question of
really extreme.
efficacy. Like the Mahayana and efficacy can only go so far. Is what about
What's the
violence
efficacy?
and sexuality,
Well,
right? Where are those
well,
energies routed, right?
well, what
Because
is it?
without those energies, you know what I
What
mean?
is that word in fact? Because the word that you
Efficacy,
just efficacy. Yeah, what does that word mean?
like like is it useful? Do they actually work? Like that is like
Uh,
the story of
uh,
how, for instance, I mean, the great story is like how Mahakala comes from Chenrezig. Like the Mahayana was a good example of like Chenrezig as or Avalokiteshvara, a very compassionate, peaceful, loving being.
okay, I see.
You know, that has only a certain effect. Sometimes you need to be, for better,
Wrathful
yeah,
or
extremely violent.
hateful,
Sometimes you need
violent,
to
sexual.
be extremely seductive, like, right? Like without those energies, how can we actually contend with samsara? Samsara doesn't give a shit. Samsara is gonna punch the shit out of us. Like being sweet and kind, as we all know, doesn't actually work functionally. Like, sometimes, but mostly we just actually need to be strong. We need to actually lead. We need to actually, well, so the Vajrayana takes those the normal like in some sense qualities of being a leader, like confronting, protecting, killing, fucking, like all of that, and takes all that energy and hopefully uses it for virtue. You know, it can also go really bad, right? So, as we know. Um, so Mahayana doesn't enter that territory because, you know, it's polite, it's Confucian, it's like it's Confucius, sorry, it's like considerate of society, considerate of the world. The Vajrayana, not so much. It's just it's about dominating. The world you can barter with the world to a degree, but at the end of the day, if you actually want to get shit done, you actually have to dominate it. Just is what it is, or it will dominate you. And that's what the Vajrayana's basic premise is. That's, you know, that's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Nor, Frank, is that for everyone. It's not everyone can do that. Not everyone's
Yeah, you
comfortable
gotta
with
be
that.
strong. Yeah, you gotta be strong. Like that's
Right?
why
You
when we
actually have
talk about
you have to care.
you
That's
have
what
to
you have
care
to do.
and
You
be strong.
actually have to care, right? Because it only arises from the care. Like if you actually care enough to
Care about
examine what,
life. Yeah.
yeah, on life's terms, it's like this is what's going on. We live in a world where there's war, where like you actually have to stand up for yourself. You actually have to choose and make a choice and do shit, right? Like, and that means if you make a choice, your target, you know, like this, just the whole implications of it's not simple. Like we're not naive about it. Whereas the Mahayana, you can be very naive. Oh, it should be a good world, right? We should all be kind. It's like, yeah, we should, but that ain't the world, honey.
Mm.
Like you if you wanna be compassionate, you have to be powerful. I mean, I'm contending with
Yeah.
that myself too. Like, I
That's,
don't like
that's
power.
beautiful.
I was raised as a feminist soy boy. Like, like power bad. It's like you can't have power. It's like how much of our society and culture castrates men to just being like feelings. It's like we just lose all our power. So that's the response. It's like we actually need to take all that and use it, bring it back,
Mhm.
integrate it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep going back to how like it's like the dark energy has the most powerful force in it. It's like dark matter, right? It's most of
Fuck
what
it.
makes up the
Fuck,
universe is dark matter, and it is only through within us our afflictions, by swimming our afflictions, can we generate the escape velocity, right? To
yeah.
continuously leap into the unknown, right? And it's not just a one-time thing. It's like that's the
Mhm.
fitness. Yeah.
Frank, why would you want to do that though?
Why do I want to do that? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because it's
No, it's
art.
fun.
It's artistry. It's poetry. It's disgusting. It's beautiful. It's all of it.
Yeah.
But that's just the same thing as saying you just love all of life, all aspects of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You
It's a
you
different
exert for
reality.
exertion's sake. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, why be free? Well, that's like we have to ask ourselves, once we're free, what do we want to do? Like, do you want to explore? Do you want to play? Like, do you want to have fun? Like, what do you know what I mean? Like, what matters to you? And like, that's post Anatta territory. Like we're all busy trying to be free. It's like, and then realizing that actually freedom is already the case, and then like actually living that and its implications is the whole point. And then what?
But it gets really confusing for people if they are not free yet, but then they utilize that vehicle to say just
Bypassing.
indulge. Yeah, bypass, indulge, which can be dangerous. That's why we need the foundations, right? Foundation view
Yeah.
and realizing self-emptiness first. Yeah.
It can be extremely dangerous, and that's why it's not there's just because you want to do it doesn't mean you can. Doesn't matter. Like we can have pretense all we want, but it's okay. I always think like reality will just smack you the shit down, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. From what I understand, one of the response why there is even a need for the Vajrayana to be in this world is that the Mahayana takes forever.
Yeah,
Shit's too long, man. It's too long.
We don't have time. We don't have time, man. You get realization as fast as you can, so you can actually benefit beings. Like, stop fucking around.
And I think like there's one of the quote that I at least heard one time by Tika Rinpoche. He says something about the Vajrayana is for people who want to rush the gates of heaven in this life, in your body.
Yeah.
Like this body will go to heaven, not the next one, this one. And yeah, not in the heaven of I guess the socio-cultural definition of heaven that is very much cushion based, but the inseparability realization is that sure, okay, the Mahayana in the Sutra version of it and the Mahayana in the Tantra version of it is very different. And I can, from what I see, the Mahayana Tantra is then breeds into the Vajrayana. The Mahayana Sutra is based on all these teachings. We laid out the framework. Now you have to generate your condition, and you got to do it like just boop, 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 little bit, little bit, little bit. But the Tantra is had the possibility, if you hang with the crew, if you make those kind of like ride or die kind of commitment, the indestructible path, Vajrayana, like indestructible vehicle, ride or die mentality, gang mentality, really. It's real gang mentality. It was straight up gang mentality. Like we are ride or die, you in, we're gonna jump you, you in now, and like, are we gonna do this or not? And the example is like previously our snake-like nature of a human being just slither, like just going whatever, just wandering, wandering. The Vajrayana, once you get initiated in that way, bamboo shaft go up or down. It's either up or down. You get fucked or you made it. No, are you about it? That's the kind of like, okay, so if that's what's required of the commitment, of the conviction, of the caring that Albert is saying, that okay, then the snake is given a very, very precise way of being so that it can be like you have a 24/7 judgment by the gang of like, is he still about it? Is she still about it? Like, if you get out of line, whack, out of line, whack, out of line, whack. And that's we're only starting, some of us are seeing in terms of like the own pervasiveness of the signal. Like, oh, this means it comes with responsibility. Yeah. If I do stupid stuff, it's not as if I'm beyond karma. No, you are much more susceptible to karma. You see much more, you feel much more. So in that way, that's why in a lot of ways, that's why we're saying like, oh, it seems to be the case that when people go through a lot of suffering, they can better understand the implication of the path. Because otherwise we're just naive of like, oh, let me just check it out. Let me just get this tantra and like just see what it's like. Let me just check out like O Block and see what Chicago is like. You don't do that, you get killed.
Yo, Khan,
Yeah.
I gotta say your style has been upgrading since you moved to the States, bro.
My style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got Riz, bro. He looks good.
And but yeah, like but then the problem is, right? Like the reason why a lot of time is gang mentality is because it's very secretive. It's against the grain. It's being punk rock. Vajrayana is very punk rock in that way. Has that flavor of like, okay, it's a long game. We gotta strategize this,
Yeah.
and some people need to die. We may not come back, but the gang survives. So that's the
The,
mentality.
the interesting thing is that even it's Vajrayana is even like not even for the human realm. Like it doesn't even care about human conventions or even modernity. So like if to contrast what we're doing in CC, the CC we actually are interested in modern. We're kind of invisible in that sense. We're
Yeah.
seamless with modernity, whereas like the Vajrayana entirely doesn't give a shit about human logic, like at all. So that's why it's like actually if people like enter the Vajrayana, it's horrifying. It's actually horrifying because it has nothing to do with being human.
Yeah.
It's like,
You hear those stories of how certain disciple get initiated. This perfect monk is teaching you on this way, on these beautiful sutras, way of being compassionate, way of being like very saint-like, very blameless. And he's been like your father, your authority figure for years and years and years, and you're in the monastery with him. And it's one day he say like, okay, today's gonna be a special lessons, and you're gonna get the essence. And then you walk in, you see him with two prostitute. He's hanging
yeah.
his dick out, and he's asking
Hey,
you to
this
do
is
shit.
Trump Rinpoche, right? This is
Yeah,
if
it's
you read
super Rinpoche. That's how
Born
he
in
got.
Tibet, his book,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. It's actually like it's Trungpa Rinpoche how he got initiated. It's like
yeah,
what? It just break his mind.
yep. Because he was a perfect monk. He's never
Yeah,
had sex, never seen a naked woman. And now he's in an initiation where like his like guru, his teacher, holds two beautiful women. They're fucking in front of him. Literally snaps his mind, right? Like
yeah,
That's how you got awakened or initiated.
that's how he got into the Tantrayana. Yeah, like from being a sutra practitioner. Then basically he had to do that because they had to escape Tibet, right?
yeah, yeah.
How do you do that in like modern society now? Like it's almost impossible. We're all like so jaded. like like sex, killing, like it won't affect us as much, like it's inconceivable to the modern mind to have that kind of brain snap. I don't know.
That's why we need aliens. We need aliens.
Yeah, you guys
That's
need to
why we
see.
need you, Frank. That's why we need your art to snap people mind fuck. Like,
That's why it's easy for Singaporeans to be awakened. It's just very easy to just brain snap us in this very low standards. There's so much things that we don't see and we don't do.
You guys don't do drugs, you guys don't have
Yeah,
sex.
exactly.
You guys are pure beings.
it's a little bit taint and
In
like, oh my
appearance.
god, my life's a lie. Yeah. But yeah, but then now we see, okay, so the Vajrayana do his thing. It has limitation, right? It has what Mei Chang sometimes refers to as a shotgun approach, which is like we got 10 new crew, two of them probably gonna die. Five of them not gonna make anything out of it. Two of them gonna get severely injured. One of them will make it out. That's that kind of like that's the mentality of like, but even if one made it out and become the next teacher, the lineage survives and they can play that game. But we're not playing that game. We care about your well-being and your overall sanity. So that's like, okay, it's gotta be like very tailored. Like
We pace the insanity.
we pace insanity. It's like, okay, we're gonna go insane on week 6, but just heads up, clear up your schedule. You're gonna go insane. We'll say that. Like just don't make rash decision right now.
Yeah.
Just keep at it, and we'll pace
Yeah,
it.
if you need a few cohorts, we give you a few cohorts.
Yeah. This doesn't have to be happen immediately. It's fine if you don't get it now. Week 11, 12 is going to be tapering. I don't think I've ever heard the concept of tapering in Vajrayana. You don't taper. You stay in that shit. You stay insane.
No,
Get more
taper.
insane. Yeah,
No,
no taper. But now he's like, okay, we need taper. He's like, you got to rest the troops a little bit. Work them up. Next
no
cycle.
warm,
Yeah.
no warm up,
No
no
lube,
tapering.
no shit. Just break your mind. Watch your father have sex with two beautiful women, and then Like, what is
Deal
going
with
on?
it.
Yeah. We're gonna traumatize you, but we're not doing that, right? We're not doing that in this vehicle of CC.
Yeah.
It's different now. We're doing research paper. We're getting IRB approved on that thing. Getting legit. But in that way, we also can get into, I guess, the territory now of seemingly there's also a debate, but is the path of Dzogchen, the instantaneous realization path, is that Vajrayana? There's debate, right? You can say that it can't be separated. You got to go through the muck to get there. Or we can say that you don't even need to go through the muck. You don't even need to, that's too crude. Making any kind of maneuver, any kind of like poking that to be rebel is also too crude. Just see it.
Mm.
Now that's like instantaneous. You don't even need to rush the storm of gates of heaven. You don't even need to move an inch.
You're already in the gates of heaven.
Yeah.
There's no gates, scaleless.
Yeah. So then now like the Dzogchenpo, those guys, completely hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ideally completely hidden in that way. But what does it mean to be hidden, right? So then it's just like, oh, so if it cannot be seen by any signifier, then by what merit do we judge that practitioners?
Mm.
If it's not about state, not about experiences, not about looking any particular way, not about any particular ideology, then what is it about?
Mm.
So Dzogchen is kind of like Zen a little bit, right?
It's debatable. There is comparison. There is a lot of comparison. There is a lot of comparison.
What is the
main,
difference between Zen and
the main thing is they saying that the Tantra Yana in Zen is not explicit enough, but there is transmission. I think that's what Malcolm Smith mentions.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's
I think Dzogchen is more precise.
Yeah, there's that.
They're way more precise. Like, even like the time, like Vajrayana, all that, it's just really precise. Whereas Zen, it's like, koans.
Vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Vibes.
Where did Zen even come? Where did Zen come from?
I think it comes from Mahakassapa. It comes from the line from Shakyamuni Buddha give that that flower sutra, like give the flower.
Oh, it's just a flower, right?
Yeah. So in that pure recognition of that, I think then the line of Zen patriarch go from Mahakassapa to one of the Zen, as we know it, comes to Bodhidharma, and he takes that into China, and from China call it Chan, and from China comes to Japan call it Zen, and from I think
So Zen and Dzogchen, they're kind of like two separate tracks in terms of our history, right?
Yeah. I think Zen is much more optimized for the masses than Dzogchen. Dzogchen, I don't think.
Yeah, because you need to know too much, right? You need to have too many like preliminary, too specific and too much context.
So a lot of the things that we know about Zen right now is come from the 1960s. I forget the name, but it's also a contemporary with Trungpa. There is also a Zen master that comes to America, a similar mission with Trungpa to boost up the new land with a new updating system.
Yep. Suzuki Roshi.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Oh, Suzuki Roshi. Yeah. I heard a lot about him from like Shizhen Yang.
Yeah. So he kickstarted a whole American Zen in that way.
Yeah. Which is Dogen, particular flavor. Dogen's kind of, philosophy. And so,
Dogen.
yeah, I mean, Zen's extremely beautiful.
Is Dogen the Wu guy? Dogen like
Dogen is the Shikatazen, just sitting. Just sitting. Yeah. Soto, yeah. Right. Yep.
And I guess like all this talk about lineages and traditions and whatnot is also to introduce the socio-cultural aspect of the training. We see that, okay, on those mindfulness apps of Headspace, Calm, waking up, they don't just go out of nowhere, that just spawns. So if we are a little bit critical of where that's coming from, either we can analyze the limitation, the benefits, or even the range. And that's how we assess, like, oh, they don't get the transmission. They don't have transmission. They don't have the lineage sign, like cosine in that way. So then there's a fundamental limitation of that. Their path is an incomplete path. because we can just analyze it. Okay, I can see that. Okay. But most people out there, when we interacting with these things, we don't think about the socio-cultural thing. We just think Buddhism. We just think it's a blanket statement, Buddhism, like mindfulness, meditation. Like, okay, so then there's a very low resolution of looking at the situation. So then we just bump our head against the wall, trying different new techniques. We don't see the socio-cultural framework. But maybe these things have agendas, and agendas comes with limitation. It has expectation. That's why is it that in your field of knowledge, you don't come across Vajrayana? Because they have limitation. And like, I think in, I don't think we can say it enough, but with Albert participating in CC is very significant. Most people in that camp don't go out of that camp. They don't come out. You don't hear about, in cohort 5, there was one acolyte, he was saying something about how comes that only masters and whatnot, only advanced practitioner, like they have studies on advanced practitioners, meditation and whatnot. How come they only reporting this thing? And I was thinking with him, like, do you consider that advanced practitioner may not share with, like they have no interest? So the data is completely skewed. So the advanced practitioner is the one who cares enough to say that they're advanced. Could be the case that they're not very advanced. So the whole data set is just skewed. They won't come out. Why would they?
Yeah.
Why would they talk?
I know. But kind of like literally, they like people who are actual practitioners who just do retreat. They have no reason to interact with anyone here, ever. Like that's the scary thing about if you I don't know. It's just hard to talk about meeting people like that, beings who just like don't interact.
Like, yeah, how can we have enough interest to like dig into a very particular book called, for example, Crystal Light and the Way of that Namkhai Nobu book? Number one, where would we even hear about that? Number two, if we hear about that, will we have the interest to look into that? Number three, if we look into that, will we have the kind of connection, pre-incarnational connection, like previous from this life, to have the click-in signal to know this is significant? When we know it's significant, do we have the discernment to look at it of like, oh, what does that say about the rest of my reality? Because in the book, they literally talk about rainbow body.
Yeah.
Like it's just straight up like my uncle had rainbow body.
Yeah.
He got arrested by the Chinese popo, and he got arrested and he disappeared.
What the fuck?
So what the fuck would that say about our reality?
Yeah,
That's crazy. What's the story? What's the name of this person?
and this is Namkhai Rinpoche.
Yeah, and it's like I'm going to school right now, and they're teaching about there is this white man mainstream epistemology, the way that the white man conventionally look at the world, and how as we grow in our understanding, I'm saying we here is like perspective of my school, University of Michigan, have to go beyond it and look at reality from more ways of indigenous way of knowing, like the Native American, the shamanic culture. And I was just thinking like, oh, I don't think these Dzogchen or these masters subscribe to the white man mainstream ideology at all. They don't think about that. They don't see this problem. They're not oppressed in that way. It's like that. That's what Albert is saying. They don't care about the conventional reality. Like you think whatever. I don't care to convince you. I don't care to persuade you. I don't care you to have to go beyond your materialist perspective. You do you. I personally don't care whether you got awakened or not, because they got they themselves, these master, have personal connection with a very particular set of individual, and they care about them. The rest, they don't really care that much.
Yeah.
They don't want to fix samsara in that way. They want to go out there and like make a paper. But I guess CC a little bit different. Then what is actually going on with CC, I think even on the team, we are also finding out. what are we really here to do? Very interesting. What's going on? Because I think at this point, as we cross beyond the common element, hopefully, like we're saying, we did a review. We are seeing that we got the tools, techniques, materials, the understanding for us to take it and work it until personal liberation. But beyond that, now the conversation is different. The thing beyond that is about power and positioning now. And what does it mean to live your awakened life? And also, today Mei Chang is in the middle of his traveling, so he will not be here to make the final address of the week. But I do think we have covered a lot of ground in today's meeting, be it the review or be it the further expanding of what the path entails, so that we are more equipped and prepared to, I guess, answer those questions of like, if we know very clearly intellectually that the sense of self is illusory, how come we don't want to see it? What is it about our life that reveals this truth? Literally, like you walk away from this truth. You don't want to see it. Yeah. Because I think the rest of the cohort, the remaining 6 weeks, is a lot of contending with these things. We're saying is the crossing the chasm, developing renunciative mind in the way of like, okay, if you see how problematic samsara and fundamentally dissatisfying samsara is, what do you do about that? You can say that, okay, develop renunciative mind, you turns away from renunciative mind. It's also not doom and gloom, because we have a potential to take refuge or to choose what is important for you and have developing a relationship that I think so far I can trust these people to be to cover my back, to watch my back that way. Because I have blind spots. I know that if I do it by myself, it would be tremendously difficult. Is there people that I can trust? It doesn't have to be CC, but that's just the overall like logic when it comes to renunciation mind and refuge. And we say it's Buddha Dhamma Sangha, Lama, deity, Dakini. Just overall, who do I lean on so that when my eyes are blind and my heart is closed, my path still continues? Because your eyes will be closed, you will be blind, and you will be cold. You would not want to see, and you would not want to feel. So who do I allow to slap me when that happens? That's your choice. But you can say, I don't allow anybody to slap me. So then, okay, so then you fix your own blindness and your own cold-heartedness. Not the good kind of cold-hearted, not the effective one. It's just like jaded. Do I want this thing enough to willingly be slapped? Also, we can't slap you. We're doing this on Zoom that way. So
Somehow it's more painful than a slap sometimes.
I'll slap you.
yeah, it's difficult, right? We must be willing to be slapped, and now we must find somebody who's willing to slap.
That
And
sounds
also that person should have realization, because there could be people that wanting to slap and they don't have realization. They just want to slap. They just want to slap people. Like, oh, let's come in. I want to slap you. I want to point you to very like triggering matters. But like, I think you just want to slap people. I don't think you even have realization. I think you just like slapping people.
that sounds like it's really rare. It sounds like the snuff film that you were talking about that's circulating around Vietnam about the
Yeah.
guy who wants to find somebody to cut his head off while he's masturbating.
The fuck?
was previous to cohort 7, but in Vietnam, supposedly there's a community that talks about decapitation, and they want to end their life by being decapitated, and they want to find somebody who has the ethics of a decapitator. So that person should cut off their head and eat their body and hide the scene and all that, and they film it and it's online. So and like they got the screenshot of the conversation of the guy who then be decapitated, asking around of like, oh, like about like about John Doe. I think he's like good at this. Like, yeah, I think about him, but I think you should check out like Dennis C. Like they referring to decapitator as if like there's a market and like there's reputation. Like I heard like
They got some followers too and shit.
yeah, they got followers. There's a whole
It's like
community.
cloud. What kind of knife they use? What kind of
What kind of knife? And they post their pictures of like uh um holding a knife, sliding the non-sharp edge to their neck, and posting on that Facebook group or some Telegram group or whatever group is like looking for a beheader. Contact me.
That sounds like the combination of CC and Tinder. Sounds like my kind of shit.
Yeah, so
We are hiring our own assassin, so to speak, right? And that's what we're talking about, right?
we are hiring our own assassin.
And we're sending out
How's that
signals,
play?
bro. It's like, ooh, fishing. Let's flex our realization so you can come join our cult.
Recruiting and training assassins, actually.
Yeah, my friends like, you want to watch that clip? I'm like, no, bro, I'm good. I don't want to go watch that clip. I don't think I want to engage with
Your
that kind
friend
of
watched
community.
it? Your friend watched it?
Yeah. You got
Damn,
the
bro.
clip. This is insane shit's going on, man. It's like, I don't even know where to begin with that situation. Like right at the point of ejaculation, it's got chopped.
But that's that person's particular fantasy, right? Not everybody wants to die that way, right? Wants to go out that way. There people want to go on different ways, right?
From what I understand, the community, they just want to be beheaded. I don't know how they would like to be beheaded, but that
But that
seems to
particular person wanted to be
be ejaculated
decapitated
while
while
being
he was
beheaded.
ejaculating.
Yeah. Right at that
That's
moment,
like,
right at the orgasm, get chopped.
you know, that's why I used to say like death is like the orgasm of life. I used to imagine death as like the orgasm of life. That guy got it right.
I don't know
I
if
was
some of
gonna
us have like yogic talent or some sort of CDs to do karmic profiling and karmic tracing to see like where his trajectory of such a soul would end up. I don't know what kind of place he's going to end up in his next incarnation. Like if you go out like that, where would you even be? It's just like, what the fuck? Like probably not be a ghost, right? I don't know. What has been going on with that guy? Like, I don't even know. The cheetah heaven. Go straight to the realm of the god. This guy is brave. Twilight Zone. Strange shit is happening. Strange stuff. But okay. Hopefully I think this address and connects us together as an entire cohort A, B, and C through 2 phases of training leading into the phase number 3. I do believe in previous cohort, phase number 3, we give it the name space that sees. Or
Wait, what is it? The next phase?
yeah, the next phase 3, space that sees. Or another workshopping name is heart of the matter.
That's a good.
Heart of the matter or space that sees. We'll see. But essentially, like, yeah, whatever the thing that is refusing, considering, contending with the matter of liberation, let's get to the heart of it. That will be week 7, 8, and 9, where we see like, okay, if right now our sense of being is not fully felt, how do we get there? If we can get there, can we see the being that sees and the being that arises, and that emerging process reveals that there's no such eternalistic being. And if we can get there, can we see that there is a greater presence that pervades, perfumes the being? And if we can see that presence, do we see how there is a dance between presence and being? And that range of practices will be phase 3. We'll do that as the final, I guess, the picking of maintaining in the peak. So week 9, usually we'll say the view from the peak of like all this thing accumulating, seeing through all of it. Now, what does it mean for your life? And then week 10, 11, 12 will be now into integrating, tapering, stabilizing, and beginning a new life, sustaining a new habit, sustaining this level of realization. Not as a peak event anymore. It's just your life. It's just you now. So we don't do the deviation. Yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you guys for joining our week 6 debrief. I'll see you around. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye bye.